She was just 17. You know what I mean? Well, I'm not sure we do know what you mean, Paul.
Hello, and welcome to my Beatles YouTube channel. If you like the Beatles, please make sure you subscribe and you check out my other videos because you're definitely gonna find them interesting. This is the 5th episode of a new series called Song Secrets of the Beatles, in which we analyze every single Beatles song one episode at a time. Every episode is divided into 5 different sections: the story behind the song, in the studio, decoding the lyrics, breaking down the music, and legacy and impact. Today's song is I Saw Her Standing There. I Saw Her Standing There was the opening track of the Beatles' debut album Please Please Me and the Beatles' debut album in America introducing the Beatles. So let's go ahead with our first section.
The story behind the song, behind the song.
Originally titled 17, I Saw Her Standing There was first conceived by Paul McCartney while he was driving home from a Beatles gig in Southport, Merseyside, as a modern take on an old folk song called 17 Come Sunday. According to Beatles biographer Mark Lewison, Paul McCartney worked out the chords and the structure of the song on an acoustic guitar on the evening of the 22nd of October 1962 at the family home of his Liverpool friend and fellow musician Rory Storm. 2 days later, Paul was writing lines for the song on a visit to London with his then girlfriend Celia Mortimer, who was 17 at the time. The song was finished about a month later at Paul McCartney's childhood home at 20 Portland Road in partnership with John Lennon. The Beatles added the song to their setlist and it was performed in Hamburg in December 1962 on what would be their last season in Hamburg at the Star Club. Paul McCartney later said that when writing the song, he basically stole the bass line from another song, a song by Chuck Berry called Talking About You, and he affirmed he never thought a bass line had to be original. Talking About You was a song by Chuck Berry that the Beatles used to play live, and you can hear it on 2 albums, The Beatles Live at the Star Club in Hamburg, Germany 1962, and On Air, The Beatles Live at the BBC Volume 2. The lyrics were written on a Liverpool Institute exercise book. Paul McCartney's brother, Mike McCartney, released a book with early photos of the Beatles. In one of these pictures, you can see John Lennon and Paul McCartney working together on I Saw Her Standing There while reading the lyrics written on the Liverpool Institute exercise book. This was the early days of perhaps the most powerful musical partnership the world has ever seen. McCartney also recalled how the original lyrics went, "She was just 17, she's never been a beauty queen," to which John Lennon said, "You're joking about that line, aren't you?" So together they changed it for "She was just 17, you know what I mean," which McCartney said was funny because you don't really know what I mean. When Paul McCartney played at the White House for President Obama, comedian Jerry Seinfeld made fun of him for writing "She was just 17, you know what I mean."
What exactly is happening in this song? She was just 17, you know what I mean. I'm not sure I do know what you mean, Sir Paul. I think I know what you mean.
He later said in a talk show that he was extremely nervous about having to make fun of Paul McCartney, but that was his job. He's a comedian, and he had to find things to make fun of. But he wasn't very comfortable with the idea of making fun of Sir Paul McCartney and in the presence of President Obama. The songwriting credit on I Saw Her Standing There, as well as the other songs from Please Please Me, was McCartney-Lennon, which differs from the most familiar songwriting credit, Lennon-McCartney, the Beatles would end up using from their second album. So let's go ahead with our next section. This is
In the studio, recording the song.
I Saw Her Standing There was first recorded live at the Cavern Club in Liverpool at the end of 1962. It was a slow version of the song, and in the recording John Lennon did not play guitar, but instead played harmonica on the intro of the song and during the verses. I think that recording has been lost forever. The Beatles recorded I Saw Her Standing There at Abbey Road Studios, of course at that time it was called EMI Studios in London, on the 11th of February 1963 during a marathon session in which they recorded 10 out of the 14 songs from their album Please Please Me. Producer George Martin said he had been to Liverpool and he'd seen them play The Cavern, and he had seen what the Beatles could do live, so he wanted to recreate that in the studio. That's why he asked them to play all the songs they played in The Cavern in the studio as if it was a live performance. The result was amazing, and as I said, they recorded 10 out of the 14 songs of their first album, Please Please Me. Many of the songs were covers the Beatles used to play live, and some others were Lennon and McCartney originals. In the album, they also included the singles they had previously released, Love Me Do and Please Please Me, and their B-sides, P.S. I Love You and Ask Me Why. In the recording of I Saw Her Standing There, we can hear the count in by Paul McCartney, an energetic 1, 2, 3, 4. Usually these things are edited out of the final recording, but producer George Martin wanted to create the illusion of a live performance, so he decided to leave it there. On the first American release, however, the count-in was edited out, but the 4 is still audible. So for this recording we have Paul McCartney, lead vocals, bass, and hand claps, John Lennon, rhythm guitar, backing vocals and hand claps, George Harrison, rhythm guitar and hand claps, and Ringo Starr on drums and hand claps. Produced by George Martin and engineered by Norman Smith. Hi, sorry to interrupt the video. Just a very quick, very important announcement. I published a book. That's right, I published a book. It's called From the Cavern to Abbey Road, a journey through the Beatles' iconic landmarks. In this book, we see the story of the Beatles from the places where everything happened. Some of them are famous, like let's say Abbey Road Studios, and some of them perhaps not so famous, like for example the art gallery where John and Yoko met. I put a lot of work and effort into this book, and it would help me so much if you grabbed a copy. It's available on Amazon all around the world, so if you want your copy, please go to the link in the description. Thank you. Now back to the video. So let's go ahead with our next section.
This is decoding the lyrics.
Decoding the lyrics. So this is another example of a simple yet effective and charming song by the early Beatles. It's a song about love at first sight, right? I saw a pretty girl, I went across the room, my heart went boom. You know, that kind of thing when you see a girl and you're like, oh my god, she's so pretty. They started dancing and they fell in love. Simple, charming, effective, and it definitely complements the upbeat rock and roll sort of dance song. Let's go ahead with our next section. This is Breaking Down the Music.
Breaking down the music. Breaking down the music. Breaking down the music. Breaking down the music.
So I Saw Her Standing There is a rock and roll track, very energetic, just what the world needed to hear from the Beatles in early 1963. Paul McCartney and John Lennon's voices complement each other perfectly, singing in harmony during pretty much the whole song. Now, the structure and the harmony is pretty simple, but there's one thing in the harmony, however, that I wanted to show you. You know, in the chorus, when it says, I'll never dance. So we're adding a tension by adding a seventh there. That's pretty common in the Beatles music and in music in general, but it's still pretty clever. And then it goes to G, and here's where it gets interesting because it goes to G minor. By the way, this is not the original key, I don't think, but still the harmony is the same. So it goes major and then minor, just when it says. So we have D, I'll never dance, D7, first tension, with another G minor. You can hear the tension, right? And then it resolves. When I saw her standing there. Genius. Right, let's go ahead with our last section.
I And finally, this is legacy and impact.
When released as a single in the USA, I Saw Her Standing There reached number 14 on the Billboard Hot 100. The album Please Please Me, when released in the UK, reached the number 1 spot on the UK Albums Chart, and it stayed there for 30 weeks. I Saw Her Standing There is the only Beatles song the 4 Beatles played live during their solo careers. Paul McCartney, of course, plays it all the time. He even played it when he returned to Liverpool, and he played a surprise concert at the Philharmonic Pub during the recording of their Carpool Karaoke with James Corden. I love that show. John Lennon played it at the Madison Square Garden with Elton John. George Harrison and Ringo Starr also performed the song together with Bruce Springsteen, Bob Dylan, Billy Joel, and many other artists at the Beatles' induction to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, making it the only Beatles song the 4 Beatles members performed live at some point during their solo careers. I Saw Her Standing There was later covered by the teen artist Tiffany, released in 1988 and retitled I Saw Him Standing There. So this is pretty much it for now. Thank you for watching until the end. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. You can also follow me on Instagram or Facebook. There is a PayPal link for donations. You can also buy my book. Actually, that would make me very, very happy indeed. Or the free option is just to subscribe to this YouTube channel and maybe click on the bell icon so you're the first to know when I upload new videos. Thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye.
Well, I'm afraid that's us run out of time.
Oh,
I'm really
okay.
sorry.
Well,
sorry.
thanks.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you very much
Thank you.
If I give my